Hi, how's it in the name of Christ? How you doing? It's your girl K. Karabo. I hope you're good. I hope you're peachy. I hope you're Stella, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. If you're not, welcome to the party. Is that just not the story of our lives? Anyway, y'all, let's just get straight into this. Or it could be animated for Jesus, depending really on what we're dealing with here. What you're looking at, I do apologize for my creased thingy over here. That's just how we roll. That's just how we roll. Anyway, so it's been a couple of days, like a few days, since I last recorded. Whoa, this is so creased, but whatever. It's been a couple of mitsutus since I recorded. Okay, it's getting hot in here. Open a door. And because it's been as long as it has, I feel like bereft and like empty. And yeah, I have to offload. But anyway, I'm here now and I am offloading. Okay. Anyway, yes, I'm scratching my scalp because it is what it is. I apologize for my white car sunscreen as well. That's going to be flashing you. So, but like, let's move on. Anyway, cool. Yeah. Where shall I commence? So, when I was growing up, as in like, I was really young, still in a school in Soweto. I moved to an English school in grade 2. So it was, but they did move us back 1 grade because we were coming from a Gasi school. Anyway, yeah, so it could have been like just some rudimentary grade, like grade 2 or grade 3, angazi, like just really rudimentary. And we used to attend this school in Soweto called Dumelang, right? All of us, pretty much, like me, my sister, my cousins, everybody that lived on my grandmother's property. You know how it is with black families, how it is that kids stay sometimes, especially back in the day, in their parents' houses until they have children, and so the mother has got grandkids and everybody just lives in one space. That's how it was, Kotladi. So all the kids born of my grandmother, not all of them, it was my aunt, uncle and me, my mom, frankly, yeah, all the kids that lived on that same property. My parents, our parents were renting rooms at the back of my grandmother's house. We all attended the same school down the road. It was a walking distance. It was not far. The name of the school was called Dumelang, and it was a primary school. And we were all just in attendance there. We all used to attend Dumelang. We were young. Like I said, grade 3, grade 2. Like, it was a tiny little ridiculous age. Just barely out of toddlerhood type establishment thing. Anyway, whatever, like preschooler type, just post preschooler, I don't know, you get my point. Like, it was just young, all right, very little. So as to help you understand the girth of inappropriateness of the pursuit of my person, I must use analogies that it might be clear what South Africa is dealing with, what cancer is coursing through their veins, and how it's just not gonna end well. And I keep saying this time and time again, but you know, I have to come here and comfort myself, because if I don't, then who, right? It's gonna do it. Anyway, whatever. So here it is that we are in attendance at Dumelang, walking distance to go there and back. We were so young that we had an older cousin who was perhaps in high school at the time that was given explicit instructions by our grandmother to pick us up every day at school. There could have been like 7 of us in total, just trekking to and from school. And this older cousin who was, I don't even think he was in high school himself. He was out of school. Yeah, so he probably was like, what, 20, 21? Yeah, type thing. Maybe, yeah, about 20, 21, I don't know, like, or maybe even 18, 19, but I do not believe that he was in school at the time. But this older cousin was, like I said, given an explicit instruction by my grandmother to pick us up. It wasn't far, it was just like a walking distance. So we would find him waiting outside the school, and we would just walk with him. In the mornings, we would walk, I think it was with him as well. Anyway, the details are sketchy, so there may be some confabulations here, but I will not confabulate details that are relevant, because this here is a trauma that happened to all of us that will forever remain poignant. It will forever remain deep and extreme, and so therefore there is no forgetting that. Let's just get straight into it. There was this individual of a high school kid, and we believe he was likely even a dropout. He was not part of the primary school. Don't really know where he attended, but there was just some miscreant boy. like I said, maybe 15, 14, just older, much older. I mean, if you're in grade 2, grade 3, others of my siblings were in like grade 5, you know, type thing, because it was all age. Like, it was me and my cousins and I, yeah, just ranging in age. But my cousin, like what used to be my best friend, she and I are the exact same age, and we were in grade 2, yeah. Okay, it is imperative that everybody gauge the girth of inappropriateness of certain experiences that people endure, and how irresponsible a nation like South Africa is with its citizens. But thank God it's not just South Africa, it's literally the whole world. And so we are going home. We are leaving. You're naive to think that this here is going to be maintained as a going concern. Earth, you are choking on blood, coughing it up from your lungs, the way that you're literally so on your way out. You're dying, you're internally bleeding, you are spazzing on the floor with an epileptic fit, you are entering into some kind of anaphylactic shock. There is a coding that is impending you, and when you do finally flatline, good riddance. But those of you that are sitting around outside of my life thinking I'm in danger, listen to what it is that you're dealing with. Yes, I am scratching my head because I get to. Whatever. There was this human individual, a teenage boy, 14, 15, 16 at the oldest, potentially even a high school dropout. That was huge to us, because after all, we are what? In grade 2 and 3. So he's mammoth. He is gargantuan. He is the stuff of tall buildings. He's like a skyscraper in comparison to us. When we look at him, we look up like that. He was just a big guy. He was a skinny, regular teenage boy, but like I said, to some grade 2, grade 3 kids, or maybe even grade 5 kids, he's like a beast. He's mammoth. I could probably take him today, but back then, nobody had defenses. His name was K-Fuss, and I get to use that name because he ain't never gonna know what in the world is going on. That was his actual name. K-Fuss. Okay? K-Fuss. His name was K-Fuss. That guy, because of that name, because of his antics, ever since then, I've always just had a PTSD that rocked up in my bones whenever somebody's name would be K-Fuss, to a point where even the K-Fuss musician guy, K-Fuss Semenya, right? I was like, maybe he's a gangster too. I just have a thing when I hear the name K-Fuss. It doesn't sit right with me, because this dude, this bugger, that K-Fuss was so incredibly terroristic. He was just such a menace to us all. He was so incredibly and voluptuously destructive to our peace that his name now rings a PTSD bell. And I kind of cringe every time I listen to anybody whose name is K-Fuss. I'm like, oh, you've got the name of that little animal. Because K-Fuss is the kind of person that induces a severity of post-traumatic stress. Like, they cause people to get checked into psychiatric hospitals. Whenever their names are mentioned, people enter into a frenzy, a trance, like some kind of a catatonic state, because they're that bereft. The kind of person who, upon their victims seeing them or hearing that they've been released from prison, would cause a person to just have a heart attack by mere virtue of the fact that, oh, not again. Like, people just die because this guy has been loosed from jail. Because really, like, yeah, they induce that much stress in a person's body, release of cortisol just spraying out there like showers of a thunderstorm, sufficiently to kill some, yeah. Type of people to bring strokes into people's bodies and brain aneurysms, whatever could be the ripple effects of a body just shutting up, just shutting down because you have happened upon some news. Like, they bring panic attacks, just an episode induced by post-traumatic stress. When you're that guy, I really do apologize ever so richly. I don't know why you think you're special. I really don't. I don't know why you think it's great to be so freaking scary. But anyway, whatever. So K-Fuss, let's carry on talking about this little miscreant. 15-year-old boy that was the bane of, no, not just our existence, but the primary school's existence. The whole primary school of girls was out here in fear of this teenage boy that was like a freaking terrorist. You know what he reminds me of? In the US, there was this little boy that was just like super murderous or whatever. Very scary. I think his name was called Yummy Mummy or Little Yummy or Yummy Dummy, whatever. Some yummy kid that was just a murderer, a psychopath. He died, I believe, at the age of, I think, 11 or something. But by the time he passed away, he had murdered so many people. He was just crazy, crazy, crazy. Psychopathic. But you see, he was a kid. And there was something extremely unhinged there. Makes you wonder what in the world is going on with that foundation, right? When a kid does stuff like that, it's like, what do you do? Like, what is going on? Hey, like, there's no conscience. Like, this person has been trained like a child soldier to just essentially be a killer. Yeah, a little yummy or whatever. Yeah, this Kefas menace was like yummy, but like a little older and slightly less homicidal, nonetheless similarly scary, because he was a terrorist, the bane of the entire primary school's worth of girls' existence, and also boys that could not stand for these girls. Okay, listen to like Kefas's general rap sheet. This guy would stand outside of the school waiting for kids to come out. That's why I believe that he was a high school dropout. He could not have been older than 16. Yeah. This menacing child, whose grandmother, frankly, should have just pungaed him when he was just 2, but let's just move on, would stand outside of the school that we used to attend, Dumelang, wait for the bell to ring, ding, for us to be, dismissed to go home now. And he would just make a pick which girl he is going to insist is his girlfriend. And you see, he was a bully. Kefase didn't really do this to high schools in the area. He did not terrorize the girls of high schools. Like, he was a teenage boy. Yeah? They are in high school. That's what's good. But this little miscreant chose a primary school. He chose a primary school because he wouldn't be able to stand against the big tall boys of high school that see it fit to protect the girls of high school. Because this guy was such a terrorist that other guys, other little boys, other children essentially just were in concert concerning the menace that this guy is. Everybody just literally had a bone to pick with whatever under heaven of a menace and a nuisance that he is. Therefore, he would never have been able to stand outside of a high school and get away with it, because high school boys are gargantuan. They've got these Adam's apples, they've got all these muscles, they're athletic, they run like lightning strikes, and their punch can lay a 40-year-old man on the ground for 2 hours, all concussed, not coming up for air. So he didn't stand a chance with high school boys, who saw it fit to stand for the high school girls that this guy was terrorizing. He was not a sufficient gangster carrying weaponry and everything to scare even high school boys. He was just a freaking bully. That's all he was. A bully that didn't carry a knife, he didn't carry a gun, he didn't have any weaponry, but like, he was scary to some little children. Like I said, he was gargantuan to us, because after all, grade 2, grade 3, what are you gonna deal concerning a 15-year-old chunky beefcake? I mean, what? The guy was not even all that thick, but he was big for us. So that's just what he did. He made his pick. He decided that a primary school is what we're gunning for. So herein lies this gargantuan buffoon that is insatiably arrogant, albeit being arrogant nonetheless is quite scary to a people that have yet to recognize the exquisite arrogance of said beast as this. We are yet to realize that he's just this like cloud without rain, this threat, this beep that really is not going to produce anything at the end of it just beeping all night, other than just scare some people that what happens at the end of the beep, is there going to be a bomb? Is it going to explode? Maybe we should run. And then the beep just keeps beeping all night, and then you come to learn that, oh my goodness, it's just an annoying beep that does not have any real consequences in the end. That was Kefas, you guys. He was a beep that's like in the climate of people imagining that there is a bomb in the room, when all that there is just some like irritating watch that has no ramifications in the end on the other side. Yeah, but he was still scary because we still thought he was a bomb. Because of the fact that he was not a real bomb, he couldn't stand against high school kids. Like I said, he had no weaponry. Therefore, he did not terrorize high schools. He terrorized primary schools. Our primary school in particular, that is Dumelang. He wanted a girlfriend. He wanted He wanted to fraternize, have sex. He broke his virginity one day, discovered that it's fun to have sex, it's pleasurable, and then decided that he is going to just, take the bodies of little girls. That he is going to essentially shella little girls that he can then just cause to disappear into some strange corners, and then he would have sex with them because it was apparently fun to have sex. No conscience. He was just like little yummy. So he was a little bit of a sexual predator, this guy. This Kefas Oki. He wanted the bodies of little girls. This 15-year-old, 16-year-old boy wanted the bodies of little girls. Yes, he was a terrorist. Okay. since he could not consensually get the bodies of teenage girls that are naughty after having sex, he decided that he's going to ransack children that aren't even thinking about sex, that aren't even thinking about ujola. We're just in primary school, going to school and coming back. We are not thinking about any such licentious things. We are not yet debauched like high school kids. We're just innocent primary school children. But this guy was like, I don't care, because if you've got certain anatomy, you're good as game. Yeah. Kefas. Very well. This Kefas dude would stand outside the school. Essentially, if you were not pretty, or if you were regarded as not typically pretty, you were largely safe. So basically the yellow bones, you know how in the black community there's like a problem with colorism? Yeah, yellow bones were in danger. Yellow bones, like little yellow boned, light in complexion black girls, were in trouble. Yeah, because of colorism in the black community, young kids that are darker in complexion tend to be largely just ignored. It's like, we're not important. I'm darker in my shade. Do not look at this white car sunscreen and whatnot. But I would qualify generally as a dark in complexion girl. And for the better majority of my early life, I was largely, nicely, beautifully ignored. I was wonderfully ignored. It did not feel great, however, at the time when I was like just richly ignored. But I realize now that my skin tone like protected me from a lot of insanity on the come up. It protected me from and like a lot, like just getting asked out by a whole bunch of guys until my head got so big that I just jolled and became kind of with a reputation. Because that tended to be the problem with yellow bone girls. If they did not exercise any restraint, they would get hit on by so many little boys that eventually they would date like 5 of them in 1 year, and by the time that year is over, everybody be out to calling them the W word, the S word, the whatnot, the B word, calling basically this unfortunate little female something that her yellow skin, before she could mature to a point of developing or establishing a moral compass, went on right ahead to allow herself to be taken over like this. But like I said, not every yellow bone girl, but becoming an overnight prolific harlot tended to follow like a tail, very unfortunately so, lighter girls, because they were just so favored that they couldn't help but just accommodate the cute dude that they have a crush on, and it would be then 7 cute dudes, like I said, in 1 year. So praise the Lord that I didn't take my mom's skin complexion, but a combination of her and my dad. I'm slightly darker. Because of me being dark, I was ignored. I only started getting attention when I was in high school, because then I had grown into my body. I became pretty, whatever. Yeah, but in primary school, I was largely ignorable. I was just whatever. I was just like intently. Yeah, so yellow bone girls were always in this like danger. If you were a light girl, you were considered very pretty, and so all the light girls just were always just shaking in their pantyhose. If you were a little powder white, cute little girl, yeah, everybody needed to send for you. Everybody needed to have your back. Everybody needed to basically be around to ascertain that you don't just get usurped in these streets by some conquering menaces that frankly are not even all that intense, but they do act intense. So their act is sufficient to gaslight people into believing that they're actually powerful. He created Kefas and his scheme. He was the main guy. He led the whole crew of boys, and he was the one who actually truly terrorized, while his friends merely just encircled him. But he was the terrorist. Yeah, he would out here be fishing like he's at the ocean, and he's got free reign to do such a thing as this, or like a poacher in the wilderness that's doing so, of course, at the peril of the law. Yellow bone girls that would, like, you know, after school be out here getting out on some I'm going home now. Yellow bone girls were often at the mercy of Kefas. What Kefas would do after school, he would wait outside of the school, but at a distance enough for teachers to not be able to see him. Basically anybody grown up, adults, you know, he was scared of either older kids, like teenage boys, and of course adults. So he was just like a big fat chunky bully that could not for the life of him fight anybody that was his size and up. Like I said, picky bully, snot coming out of the nose, Ngongodi, that was Kefas. So he would wait at a sufficient distance from the school, but close enough for him to see, meet, whatever's coming out of the school. He would then scan the girls coming out of the school, and then make a decision to follow the one that he has decided, that's a cute little thing, I want it. Mind you, this cute little thing is what, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, so this guy was like a pedophile, essentially. Grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, like, yeah. I mean, how old are you at that stage? Like 11, 10, 9, 8? I could go down from there. You're literally not even a teenager yet. You probably don't even have boobs yet. You probably haven't gone on your period yet. You probably don't even like feel any kind of way. Like you just don't know what's going on. There are certain shows you can't watch like what you're a child. That's what's good. But this guy somehow managed to develop a fanatical sexual desire for people that are yet to even get their first period. Yeah, this teenage boy, all he saw in Jafela was just the nether regions of a female. Yeah, and it did not matter that those nether regions are not even mature to, you know, partake in copulation. They're not mature. The person can't be having sex at like 10. What? Like, anyway, this guy just didn't care. Yeah, that was K5. So he would like scan the primary school periphery for girls, basically from all the way from grade 7, so standard 5, the last grade of primary school, down to grade 2. And I would know that he went all the way down to grade 2 where we were at with my cousin, cause I told you yellow bones be RGB adored, right? Herein lies the deal. I have a cousin. I would say had, but really blood remains even though you have no care for that individual anymore. So it's present tense. I have a cousin, but guess what? I don't have anymore. A best friend. So that's a goner. That's out the window. Fly like a bird. Goodbye. Never again will we ever be reconciled. But nonetheless, we were like here. We were tight bosom buddies. Sofa Slahlane, she was my favorite cousin. I was her favorite. And we were in this together for life until she became a whole new sensical backstabber. Anyway, nonetheless, in the days of her innocence, before she became a ravenous psychopath, this here cousin was beloved by me and of course by everybody. I mean, she was our person. Type thing. She was beloved. Today we really don't care whether she lives or dies, but then she was beloved. Okay. And just like me, she was nice and innocent. She was a child, just like me. Born same year, so same age, everything. Yeah, we out here rolling in these grade 2, grade 3 streets. And there is like some psychopathic little yummy teenage boy outside of the school. My cousin was a yellow bone. She, if at all we had a girl band, would be the Beyonce. She was always being spoken of as looking like a colored little girl, even though she was black. Colored is a mix between black and white, mixed race basically. And on the come up, I was always ignored in favor of her, but I didn't care. I was a child. These things did not quite afflict me. Every time there was a little pageant in Soweto for little girls to join it and be all cute, they would knock on my uncle's door. Coco, can we please enter your daughter in the pageant? She's just so cute and she could win. So my little cousin entered little pageants as a girl because she was just this like bright yellow bone with all this hair type setup thing. She was just a cute girl and I was always in her shadow. I was always just kind of fading in the background because I was just some dark girl that nobody cared about. I remember when they were asking for her to join the pageant. The guy who rocked up was like, can your child please join our pageant? And I was out here on some, we're gonna join pageants. I'm really excited. I want to join a pageant. And then this guy looked at me and he was like, not you. He was so mean. He was like, Isimwen, not you. Whoa. Yeah, that was the first time that colorism really slapped me upside the head. Here was this adult man, this grown man, likely in his late 20s, early 30s, telling a little girl, crushing her dreams and her hopes, that you're too ugly to join a pageant. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. He tells me, not you. We want the other girl over there. At which point I was like, oh. So I just used to take in my stride as a kid on the come up that I'm not the pretty one. Don't nobody care about me. I am the ignorable one. I am the invisible one. I am cellophane. People walk right by me and see right through me and never know that I'm there. And I didn't mind. I didn't care. Thank God. I didn't mind and I didn't care because I was just too much of a child to be focused on stuff like that. And when I got, like I said, to high school, things changed for the better because I believe in high school. It would have really hurt to basically not be regarded, because that's when you start to notice stuff. That's when you start to kind of look at boys. That's when you start to want to be wanted. That's when you start to want to be pretty. And yeah, if I was still treated like the way that I was treated on the come up, it would have probably really crushed my self-esteem. I don't know, whatever. So I was an ugly duckling that did become a swan. That's what I'm getting at. But my early days of being an ugly duckling protected me from, first and foremost, harlotry, and secondly, boys. Not boys, what is called, yeah, just like coercion. From exploitation, just too much attention on the eyes of a kid that is impressionable, that does not yet know the importance of maintaining or protecting one's virtue, keeping one's self in a bunch. Yeah, too much favor on a little girl is dangerous if she is not properly trained and constantly just communicated to by voices of reason as to how to conduct herself and how to protect herself from being just squandered in these streets. She could end up a harlot. Like, I saw it happen with so many of my yellow bone friends. It was just like clockwork. It was always the yellow bone girls that were all over these streets because they were just so sought after. The attention was hard to ignore. Yeah, not all of them, of course. There were others that were a lot more regulated. They were tempted. They were cool. They were basically taught well. They were raised right, and in and of themselves, they had their own decision that they made, that I could go and to yeah, but some of them just let themselves end up being called harlots. It was always us, the dark girls, that were chilling there with nobody coming to say, hi Karabo, can I talk to you? Hi Lerata, can I talk to you please at the flagpole? Nobody cared to ask to talk to us at the flagpole. So we would always just be sitting there eating lunch, watching our yellow bone friend get shellaed by some dude in grade 6 while we were in grade 4. Yeah, we would be out there watching all this activity while the yellow bone is getting fraternized with. So praise the Lord for making me dark, because yeah, like I said, that kind of attention on a little girl, it can mess them up if they don't have the right foundation at home, and if in and of themselves they don't have faculties to hold themselves in a bunch, hold their horses. Very well. So my cousin was, like I said, so gorgeous and such a yellow bone as a little girl that people would even knock on my uncle's door to ask for her hand in attending a pageant or whatever. She was always being invited into pageants, and automatically whenever we would play games like Shell Road to Fame, like basically auditioning games, like superstar games, she would always be the lead singer. Whether or not she had any real talent was irrelevant, because her yellow skin was all that mattered. It's similar to what happened in Dream Girls with Jennifer Hudson. You know how Beyonce was given the lead role because Beyonce was given the lead role because she was a yellow bone, even though Jennifer Hudson was the one with the pipes, like the one that was actually really truly lead type thing. That used to happen with my cousin all the time. Like it did not matter who in the crew of girls out of us or was actually really truly with this particular skill, that skill, including me. She was always just in the forefront, number one, because of her super bright yellow bone general nature. Okay, cool. Now that you have that information at your disposal, now that you have seen what colorism does in the Black community, even to children, let's move on. Okay, here's my cousin being this yellow bone that I have described, even gets invited to pageants by onlookers into the family dynamic. And we've got a little miscreant that considers beauty to be indeed that which is worn by a yellow bone. And he has been picking them out like fishing at the ocean over the past couple of months. He's just a terrorist, maybe even years. And unfortunately for us, my cousin caught his eye. My cousin caught Cephas's eye. Alright, yeah. My cousin caught the eye of Cephas. Now, so you can understand how Cephas in the operator joang. This guy would wait, and then he would pick the yellow bone rough. Like the kid, he would literally just take her hand, like just rough, and then this child would have to just walk with him. She would have to go because she's walking with 5 other children, crews of friends, because that's the way that it is in Soweto, by the way, those of you that don't know. It is a luxury. White parents, it is a luxury, gentrified society. Allow me to just communicate to you that in the Kasi, in the Soweto, in the ghetto, essentially, kids out here be crazy independent. They walk to school and back by themselves. Parents are too inundated with their own life issues to actually really truly drop any children off at school and vehicles and stuff, because at the time, especially when I was on the come up, none of them had cars. They also had these jobs that they had to be at by like 6, 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, so ain't nobody got time in these streets to be dropping off a child at school and then only going to work. Like, you all need to understand, it is what it is. These kids are going to walk themselves to school and they're going to walk themselves from school. It's like that in the Black community. If you were to go to downtown Johannesburg, the number of literally 2 inappropriately tiny kids walking by themselves with chunky school bags, like the school bag, like this kid is so small that his backpack looks like it could weigh him down as he's walking. It's just huge. And yet this what looks like 7-8-year-old, this what looks like 6-year-old is literally queuing at a snake-like queue by themselves. Kopri. About to be out, you're going back to Pimville or whatever from school. It's like that in the black community. Like, if you just go to downtown Joburg, you will observe this phenomenon. You will see kids as young as 7-8. You will see kids as young as like 6-7-8. 5 of them in that small little, with no adult, not even a single adult, walking, crossing the road, going to Brie, going to North, going wherever. And it's just so normal. It's so common that nobody will be like, hello boy, where's your parents? Where's your mom? Why are you out here alone? Why are you in the queue alone? Why? No, everybody understands that that's just the way that it is in the black community. Parents just can't. They can't afford to, hook up au pairs, nannies that travel to go fetch kids. They don't have cars of their own. They can't take time off work to pick kids up or drop them off. And they also don't have the luxury to get chaperones for them or whatever. They just, so the best way that we are catered to is through each other. We are counseled by parents to basically make friends with that girl from that house, that boy from that house, that child from 10 houses down, and the 7 of y'all will walk to school together. 7 of y'all will come back home from school together. And that's how it was with us. Kids in the Gussie, it's like that. Barely ever would you find parents parked outside of schools after school, waiting for kids, picking them up. That was a phenomenon, frankly, that I observed only when I went to Mayfair Convent. Only when I went to Mayfair Convent. That was a school in the suburbs. Shortly after, we were in Dumelang, and then I moved to St. Matthew's. Even at St. Matthew's, which was a Catholic school, a Catholic private school in Soweto, Rockville. Even there, still, everybody, there were no cars parked outside of that school after school waiting for kids to go home. Everybody had to find their way home. Kids just had to find it. It's the way that it is. Only when I moved to but Mayfair Convent, which was a school in the suburbs. And so there was a combination of races there. There were white kids, Indian kids, colored kids, black kids, Chinese kids, whatever. Just like the Rainbow Nation was admitted into that school. The Rainbow Nation was admitted into that school, and kids that were the black kids in that school also came from Soweto a lot of times. They did not live in the suburbs. They did not live in the surrounding area, right? Yeah, that's what's good. Therefore, parents would then hook up kumbis, like public transportation where you pile up a whole bunch of children, school buses basically, and then they get picked up at home and then dropped off. So black kids were largely picked up by kumbis. That's when, however, that whole kumbi system only happened when I was in Mayfair Convent. We didn't even have a kumbi system because it was too close for kumbis. You get admitted into a school that is in your neighborhood, even if it's a 1 kilometer walk. So just find other kids to walk with type thing. So kids just kind of like, stray bullets, just doing their own thing by themselves. And also the picking up of children by parents. I also made an observation of that at Mayfair Convent because, like I said, there were colored kids, white kids. Yeah, and in those communities, parents be out here picking up their kids, dropping them off, whatnot. But the independence of children in the black community is such that we are left out there to figure these streets out, feel our way through, and we grow up and we make it. We survive. We don't die. We don't get raped. We don't get taken. It's just like Papa. People just watch it. Go to downtown Joburg. You will see. I don't know if it's still a thing, but it probably is, because black people are still suffering. There are just these kids walking through downtown Joburg that are much too young to be alone, and it's just walked right by. Nobody asks this child, "Where's your mama? What's going on? Are you lost?" This kid is so determined with this big fat chunky school bag that nobody, people just get it that oya ko Brie, oya ko North, and he's gonna get home. Yeah, well, I mean, of course, then it was no different at Dumelang. Ain't no parents out here standing outside of the school to see some bully kid out here, low-key kidnapping temporarily, seasonally, their girl or their boy. Not their boy. This little miscreant was all about taking girls. Anyway, whatever. So there were barely any teachers outside of where this guy was at, and there were no cars. There was not just a general presence of grown-ups. Just us coming out in the clubs, in the bands that we tended to walk with after school, going to wherever we stayed. Do you understand? And I mean, that's the perfect environment for predators. And Kefas was a 15-year-old, 16-year-old predator, and he was out here fishing, all right, scouring the environment, scanning that periphery as with a periscope for little girls that he could just exploit, that he could just violate, that he could just etc. And my cousin unfortunately caught his eye. My cousin caught the eye of Kefas, and my cousin was with me in grade 2 or 3. Okay, yeah, she was with me in that grade. So we're that young. Do the mathematics as to how old a kid in grade 2 or 3 is. We that young, we that little, we are that crazy little. My cousin, however, did look slightly older than me, even though she was my age, because she was chubbyish, she was bigger, she had a little bit more meat on her body, type thing. And at that time she was taller than me, but I'm the one here now that's tall because no growth spurt caught up, my genes caught up. I'm quite lanky now, but she, of course, because she was born first, was taller than me. So she was tall in the beginning, and she was also she looked like she could have been, even though she was in grade 2, 3, she looked like she could have been in grade 4, 5, maybe even grade 6. Okay, so that's what my cousin be out here looking like. So this dude is thinking, hello, my size. This little miscreant is thinking, I like that one, she's cute. Yeah, she's cute, that's what's good. I like her, she's cute. This Kefas dude had a girlfriend, all right? Oh goodness, these stories. I need to pee. Let me just let this 3-minute cycle expire, and then I'll go use the toilet. I'll use the little girl's room. He had a girlfriend, and the girlfriend was in high school, okay? And it was a girl that everybody knew that was his basically main chick, but it did not matter that unanale girlfriend. And this girlfriend of his, I'm so kind of pressed to pee, was with grand reputation. Her name was Hetia. Literally, that was the name, Hetia. I don't even know what was going on over there with the parents at birth. I'd be naming a child Hetia, but that's just the black community. Like, kids be out getting named matric certificates. So I guess Hetia, I wonder today, like, what in the world? Hi, Hetia, can you please bring me the documentation for the project? Anyway, whatever. Weird names in black community. People eventually adopt them, even though they crease their foreheads when you first introduce yourself to people. Your name is what? Hetia. God, you're sneezing. Anyway, this chick's name was Hetia. She was in high school, and she was attending school, so she wasn't a dropout or whatever. And her boyfriend was Kefas. We knew that they were dating, these two, because the stories that were doing their rounds were doing their rounds. Okay, this chick had just the most hard knock and most intense reputation. Okay, I need to go and pee. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, Hetia, right? This guy had this girlfriend in high school by the name of Hetia. And Hetia was a woman of reputation. She was a girl of reputation. She had been around, all right? She essentially was what would be called a village bicycle. She has slept around a lot with a lot of the guys. She was well known for certain behavior in that environment. And Hetia used to date Kefas. I guess she didn't care that the guy was not in school. She was in high school, and this Kefas man, dude, boy, was used to that kind of servicing by a girl. He got himself nicely trained on being stroked and cuddled and straddled and basically fraternized with, partook in pleasure-seeking antics, hedonistic antics that, frankly, kids that young should not be engaged in. She was everywhere. She was all over the show. She was the bad girl. She was, however, age appropriate for him. She in and of herself was also in high school, and with a little boy being used to such favors given him by another little girl, he then is going to basically demand that every other little girl help him in this regard. And, just basically humor his sexual passions. He could have just stuck with his licentious girl that is happy to help him along. But unfortunately, Kefas was a boy, and men are built, if at all they are not in Christ, to be sort of kind of low-key ridiculous when it comes to sexual proclivity. They are promiscuous. They have got an inclination towards clubbing and banding many women together with a belief of limited ramifications to such actions as these. They enjoy being players. They are polygamistic in the way that they think. And absent of the Holy Spirit correcting this way of life, they expect every woman in these streets of the planet to just take in their stride whatever random nonsensical thing that they are, because apparently I'm a man and I've got needs and I've not been made for monogamy. So therefore, humor me, you 5 girlfriends of mine, you 10 girlfriends of mine, because I'm having such a rough time being faithful. Kefas being a typical boy headed towards being a man, a typical man. To him, it was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend that gives me basically what I need, and there it's consensual, so there is no rapey intention. To him, it was like, 1 is not enough. But you see, he wasn't a regular guy. Kefas was not into consent, right? In a way that many of these playing miscreants are into consent. So now when you've got that mindset that I'm an animal and I just pounce on whatever I want because I can't help my animalistic nature, I just want 5 women at the same time. When you've got that mindset right next to, I don't gotta ask, I don't gotta be given permission, I don't take no for an answer. When you've got that built into the beastly animalistic contentment, just chilling in your sin nature as this like violent predator that is out here just having whatever you want, you're pleasure seeking, you don't care for brittling the flesh, for self-control, you don't care for any of that. Essentially, you then start to become like a sexual predator. Then you become a sexual criminal. When you mix the polygamy that dwells in the bones of men with entitlement, you become a rapist. Yeah. And Kefas did not have the self-control of most players in this world who will wait for women to say, fine, I'll have sex with you, break the hearts of women who are expecting this little animal to be faithful. But nonetheless, everybody here consented. Nobody raped anybody. Nobody shoved anybody down, on a wall. Nobody was pinned to the ground. Everybody consented, and just because your heart is bleeding does not mean that I raped you. You agreed. Unfortunately, that's just the way that life is for many girls. They are to be getting hurt by incontinent men. Yeah, but the ones that I'm actually addressing are the ones that don't care when women, in and of themselves, when girls are like, ew, no. When women are like, I'm not going to let myself be had by the guy that sleeps with 7 girls in one night. I'm not going to partake in an orgy. I'm not going to date the guy that slept with all the virgins in grade 9. I'm not going, like, yeah, when you're that girl, you frustrate the player. You frustrate the idiot that feels like he can get any woman he wants. Because after all, Akiri, he is largely self-controlled concerning rape. He doesn't rape. He just smooth talks, butters women up so that they will land in his bed, following which he just like ditches. He just absconds. He leaves. Yeah. If you're the smart girl that can say no to the player, you're a cut above the rest. You're different. You refuse to just be a number, a statistic in the midst of all this crazy. So largely you should be safe, right? If at all, protecting yourself is all that's needed for you to not be taken for granted by a little beast that thinks that he cannot control his, whatever, like just brittle this nonsensical flesh of the belief that he cannot brittle his nonsensical flesh. Let me just finish talking. I saw something there. I don't know if sound is on or what's going on. Anyway, the belief that one cannot brittle their nonsensical flesh. A woman that is exercising self-control and has self-respect can escape that bullet. The bullet of incontinent, loose cannon men who just shell at anything in these streets, sleep with 7 women in 1 month, like, yeah, gross men. You are largely safe from them as a woman insofar as you refuse them access to your person. But when you're dealing with a gross man that's also entitled, even if you say no, of course I'm not going to be with you. What? No. You've slept with the whole school. I'm not doing it. You've slept with the whole office. I'm not doing it. And then he takes it anyway. Then on that day, we're dealing with a different monster. On that day, we're dealing with something that needs to be killed. It needs to be moved out the way. It needs to be squashed. It needs to be revolutionized against. There must be a protagonist. If at all the police are not going to handle this person, there needs to be vigilante justice. Somebody needs to necklace this guy and turn on a matchstick. Telepetrol needs to go. Yeah, somebody needs to neutralize this little idiot. Like in the days of apartheid, this was called Jack Rowling. Jack Rowling. There was this like prolific colored dude by the name of Jack Brown that used to just take girls after school and rape them and then just throw them on the side. Sometimes he would kill them. Yeah, well, when a community of people are suffering like no man's business and they don't have resources to hook up security systems in order to protect their girls, sometimes they just put a tire around your body, put some petrol on it, and then burn. Well, I'm a Jack Roller. Tend to Jack roll in an environment where girls don't have sufficient protection. But amajagrola tend to die a horrific death at the hands of the mob. They die a horrific death at the hands of a community that cannot rely on the police. They cannot rely that anybody's gonna have their back, seeing as the voices of black people are largely ignored. These people die horrific deaths because this justice system is inefficient. Yeah, and that's exactly how it was in the days of my upcoming, where it is that we had like a low-key jack roller, but without the car and without the gun, out here terrorizing primary school kids, and yet was never apprehended by the police despite the manifold reports of girls to their parents at the end of the day. Kefase was a little player that was having enough sex with his girlfriend Hetia, and whatever other teenage girl was prepared to do that with him, but for him, he was just going to take what he wanted anyway. Okay, so he set his eyes on my cousin, and the way that this guy would take a girl is he would accost her, right? And then her friends would stand back, likely even run away, because they were so scary. It was always him and a couple of his boys. Whenever one of the girls were taken, everybody else would run, because you can't just stay there. You can't just stay there. So this girl would basically walk back home, kind of shamefaced, having been harassed in the street with nobody coming for her. This K-Fast dude relied on there being no teenage boy presence, so no other no other bigger boy presence, no high schooler, basically anyone his age and up. He relied on cornering girls in an environment where there was no one coming for them. No one coming for them. So this little girl would be sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and he would shell at her. He would shell at her on some "be my girlfriend" or "you're my girl." And if this girl did not agree, he would twist her arm behind her back, hurt her until she's like, okay. Following which he would then make an arrangement for them to meet somewhere, and then he would have her body. So he did not rape them there and then, or even on the same day, but he used fear. He used intimidation. He used threats. And we are now dealing with children, right? So they don't have a sense of, how about I report this so that I don't end up having sex with a teenage boy? They tell themselves that nobody's coming for me. This guy is going to hurt me. He's going to hit my body if I don't go with him when he says I must go with him after school and allow him to have sex with me. He did not have, you see, I told you guys that this little boy he didn't have resources. He didn't have a car, he didn't have a gun, he didn't have a knife. He wasn't even a real legitimate full-time criminal, a gangster. He used fear. It was like psychological manipulation. So grabbing a girl that is kicking and screaming would cause him to drop her like a hot potato, because anybody at all that was bigger than him that would see this thing would immediately rise up and this guy would run. So he relied on so much fear in the girls that they would just quietly walk with him to their rape. He would twist the hands of these girls in a way so as to make them quietly walk with him wherever that he might rape them. So basically, when you are walking around with Kefas as a little girl, if people don't really know this guy and his reputation, and he's walking with this little girl to his house where he stays, people would be thinking this is an older brother picking up his sister from school. Because this kid is here. Ototsi. This kid is mum. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ototsi. The kid is not saying anything. The kid is not screaming. The kid is not crying. The kid is just like, her face is down. Somber solo. So it would take a very observant adult to notice that there's something wrong. There was actually a case of that nature in the United Kingdom. I watched a short of it on YouTube, where this little girl was walking and some grown man picked her up in the alleyway where she was at, and he was walking home with her. Unatute, this girl, it looked like his daughter. But one woman, her senses, her intuition kicked in, a teenage girl actually, her intuition kicked in, and she was like, that child is not safe, and then followed them and started asking this child questions. Hi, little girl, are you okay? What's going on? And this dude is like, leave us alone. This is my child. This is my daughter. Leave us alone. What's wrong with you, mate? This is my daughter. And this kid was quiet for a good minute while this girl was busy following them around. Eventually, she turned around with this guy holding her hand, and she was like, I don't know, he just took me in the alleyway, and she started to cry. So essentially it became clear that we were dealing with a sexual predator that was taking a little girl to his apartment, and he was so intimidating, so scary, that this girl was quiet, walking with him, agreeing to let him lie to everybody around that this is my daughter, I'm taking my daughter home. This is my child, this is my family, I'm taking her home. It took the probing of this girl over and over and over again. On some little girl, are you okay? No, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her. Are you okay? And I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to her. Are you okay? Until eventually this little girl was like, I don't know, it's good. And she cried. And the whole thing was very emotional because everybody was crying now. The girl was crying. The teenage girl was crying. So too was the girl crying that was about to be abducted, kidnapped, raped. We don't know what's going to happen to her. We don't also know, I don't know how the whole thing ended, whether this guy ran away or what's going on, but basically this little girl was rescued by a very intuitive, a very observant teenage girl that looked at the situation and something just did not sit right with her. Kefas was like that little sexual predator from the TikTok, from the YouTube, what do you call this short? Yeah, Kefas was like that. He leaned on fear over kids, just like that kid in the short on YouTube. That kid was 7, 8, because that's just my thing, right? In the Black community, sometimes kids are allowed to walk home by themselves and go to school by themselves, not so much because the parents are irresponsible, but because the hardship in the Black community is such that there aren't sufficient resources to sufficiently secure or ensconce these kids. There aren't sufficient resources to award little chaperones, bodyguards, or transportation that is not public for kids. So what is relied on in the Black community is for the clubbing together, banding together by kids to walk to school together and to walk back. But sometimes these kids won't necessarily listen to the parents' instructions that do not walk alone in Bree, downtown Joburg, but make sure that you are traveling with Tepo, make sure that you're traveling with Lerato. The 5 of y'all must always be walking together. Sometimes these kids be out here going home by themselves. I've done that before, where I'm out here being so tiny, the whole world is big around me, and I am queuing by myself in this tiny little girl, and everybody in the queue and just inherently gets it in the Black community that like this is how it is with us. So nobody bullies me. They just understand that that's just the structure, that's the way that things are. So I can't even really blame it on the irresponsibility of Black parents. It's resources. It's poverty or insufficient resources. And however, we are living in 2024 now, where there is no respect for the dynamics of the Black community. Back in the day, we were largely safe, right? But like now, people be out just snatching Black girls, like whatever. And then when we get snatched from the side of the street, nobody cares. Like, you know, I did videos speaking about the plight of the Black girl, the Black woman. We are on our own. I'm trying to call people to Christ. Women, Black women. I am trying to call you to Jesus Christ, because when your father and your mother forsake you, or when your community forsake you, when your police won't take your case, when they ignore you, when they allow your docket, the docket of your rape to be bought, when no justice comes, even though you have been done dirty, when you're reported missing and no one goes looking for you for 2 weeks, when you're that person, yes, like it, you ain't got no one, yo, but God. You ain't got no one but God. Like, no one is coming for the Black girl. And I am trying to talk to Black girls to say, y'all ain't got no one but Christ. The world does not care about you. Your community is too poor to invest in resources for your security. And unless you suture yourself to a supernatural God, you're done for. You will get taken by Kefas.